We are back on the 78 Trans Am, and we apologize completely for being in such tight corridors. We have these huge shop with all these buildings, and then Lewis is stuck working in this one bay with heat because we don't have heat anywhere else.
But now we got heat, baby!
We're gonna get everything organized and put it into the container for storage and use what we gotta use. Everybody loves a 78 Trans Am, except for the people who have to redo it from the last shop. Then, not so much.
It's not that bad.
All right, so it did come from another shop. They tried really hard. The car tried a lot harder. Everything we're finding on this car so far has been literally, if they didn't touch it, it seems like it'd be in better shape.
Yeah, I think so.
Like everything
And
underneath.
just the little annoying spots that were missed that are gonna make us have to take 10 steps back.
Just to start over
Just
again.
to start over.
It's a pain. So what you can see here is Lewis went through and pulled the glass out. We weren't gonna pull the rear glass out, but it only takes a few minutes, and there was that little bit of concerning rust there. So this way, it's done. We're gonna clean up all the windshield butyl, get rid of that, prime it, paint it, and it'll be like a brand new, better than a brand new car. We also went ahead and started stripping it down, which you've seen, and unfortunately, we missed a lot of footage, but we're a shop, and once you get in it, it's hard to like remember to grab a camera and film. We talked about getting a GoPro, yeah, and then having to just watch Lewis pick his nose all day, so we keep. That's how we train people now. You put a GoPro so they think that they're being filmed to make sure that they're working. That'll be the new
No,
trick.
no SD card, just GoPro.
Yeah, it won't even be running the whole time. Okay, so Lewis, bring us up to date. What we missed filming, what you did.
So what we missed filming is I ripped apart the whole interior, got it all out the car. Most of it is organized in my nice little wall areas, as you can see. Got the headliner pulled out, huge squirrel nest pulled out from underneath both rear seats, behind the rear quarter panels, huge squirrel nest. Got the taillights out, glass out, found all the spots that they missed when they just decided to tape the vehicle instead of actually pulling it apart and doing it properly. And then found rust on the front dash panel, like dash panel.
Yeah, the metal part of the dash. So on the older cars, you used to have metal dashes. Then it went from metal that met some soft trim dashes like vinyl, leather, or whatever. And so a lot of these muscle cars actually have a metal and vinyl dash pad. And there's rust on the metal, so we have to deal with that. This is a prime example of why we strip cars before you work on them, because you want to see what's underneath them. And unfortunately, when you go to another shop, we don't know what they did. We can look at it and assess it. Until you really get down into nitty gritty and see what's underneath there, you have no idea. So it was very important for us to kind of go through this exploratory stage. And now we are going to strip this thing down pretty much completely to metal, because by the time we take off the paint that they put on there and get back down to what we need to see, because I know they patched some stuff, and honestly, if they did the work that they did, I guarantee you the patchwork is not what it's supposed to be. Another thing is, we're always asking Q&A questions. Everybody says, give me a quote, give me a price. And I'm hoping that this shows you that you really can't give a price, because one, you have to give a price that you stay in business. So if I gave them a price based off of what we've seen on 90% of the cars, I would have had to say, we're probably gonna fix a lot of rust here. There's gonna be a lot of rust in the quarter panels. There's gonna be a lot of rust in the windshield, or under the windshield. There's gonna be a lot of rust in the fenders, and you would charge them for that. But then when you get into it and see a car like this actually works in the customer's favor. We pulled it out and there's nothing wrong here. So to me, if I was to purchase this car from them and they showed me pictures showing that this was already done, we pulled it apart, there was no rust, to me that's worth $1 million. And if I quoted them to fix it and it didn't have to be fixed, it would, obviously save them money, which... This is the window chrome. You can see here it's slightly rusted.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So next week is going to be exciting, because we're actually moving to, the car's going to be completely stripped down the metal, and we're going to go right into the metal work phase, fixing any rust that has to be done, and then right into bodywork and primer and all that stuff. So we should be in a pretty good spot next week.
Yeah.
We're almost there now.
The car's relatively straight. That's the exciting part. It's not like some cars we've been brought here where it is a smashed in quarter panel and they're like, that only takes like 30 minutes.
Like the Z28 where the roof was caved in.
Oh yeah. This one, realistically, if we just get a nice solid block sand after we fix everything and make sure everything's straight,
Well, that
it
was
should move quickly.
Originally, I wanted to just block sand the whole thing down, cut through what they did, based off of the fact that this paint was so cheap. Actually, that's a good question. Using cheap materials, how it really bites you in the tail. Even though we like to strip things on the metal, on this car, we literally were just going to block sand it right down and just keep block sanding until we got what they did off of it and went to underneath it, so we didn't have to strip it down the metal, because a lot of times when you strip it down the metal, you go really far backwards before you can move forward, and if you're on a budget, it ruins that budget. But because they use inferior materials, it's hard to sand, and once we cut through what they put on there, we instantly go through the stuff underneath it. I think we're going to end up being at like ground zero on this one, where we are going to block sand it. We're probably going to pretty much have to block sand everything to metal and kind of start fresh, which is what I like to do, because when you warranty stuff, you can't stand behind what you did if it's on top of something else someone else did. So as we go through this Firebird, I'm going to show you things that you need to do in a shop and people need to learn. And this is embarrassing. I'm using this as an example of what not to do. Things you'll hear me say is when you dismantle a car or anything you do that one job, you finish that one job, you put that one job away, and you make sure you stay focused on that one job and don't jump around. Now, because the heat was out in the building, we were working in one location, a lot of the parts were taken out. And I just want to go through, I'm going to show you things that future people who want to work on cars should always pay attention to, because you'll hear me say it a million times. It's not the big things that go wrong. Big problems happen in a shop and you deal with them. It's all the small problems. The small problems, if a person, an employee, anybody in the shop can't get through the small things on a daily basis, that's what brings down the shop. And I'm going to go through so that people that are, I don't know, you always hear me say the number one thing is getting there's a lot of good possible technicians out there that you need to get the backyard out of. And the backyard is the hardest thing to get out, especially nowadays, just because a lot of the younger men and women haven't had the experience working in a nice shop that builds nice stuff. But there's so much stuff. It's like, I used this as an example a couple weeks ago with one of my carpenter friends, that if you take a 2x4 out and there's nails sticking out of it, you don't put it on the floor with the nails sticking up, right? You remove the nails, you put everything away, you know it's a danger, and this is some of the stuff that we're gonna find here, and I'm gonna show you. All right, so I hate working on the floor. We're not Chinese. You get benches and cabinets and stuff like that. And the glass was put down here, which is great that it was put on a carpet so it doesn't break, but it's upside down. You never really wanna put glass where it's spread out like that, because that's how it cracks. You flip it over and be very careful. Lewis was smart enough here to make sure to put a cloth underneath the glass, but it's resting against the door. And if somebody came in here and opened that door, the glass would be no more. And just all in all, leaving stuff on the ground is something you're setting examples up for someone to step on or fall, and then it causes you more work. So instead of taking one item and putting it where it's going to go, now you have a million items that you took out that you have to put where they go. Everything bagged and tagged and labeled, which Lewis is doing that, which is great. A lot of things that I would do is, like, once you know that that is the old console and we're using a new one for a different shifter and we have to replace the switches into that one, I would mark this, tape it off, and put old console, get it the hell out of here so you don't have to worry about it. And then major things that you really don't want to do is never put anything on a seat. And this is a prime example. Yes, we are going to clean these seats up, but we don't need to redo them. So when you put glass on here, now you got grease. See those marks, right? If they were left on there for days, weeks, they could actually put permanent marks in that are impossible to get out. So now you took a seat that we didn't need to do anything to but clean and dye and mess it up. All the little details in a shop that bring the shop down, and it's so important to get that out. Like I said, it's embarrassing, but it's cool because I get to show you firsthand things that need to be done, why they need to be done, and we're gonna work through them and learn, because obviously Lewis is probably one of the best people I've ever known. The last couple of years in business were the worst years in business, and unfortunately, like last year, we had to lose. Ooh, I almost fell. See, if I fell, mess something up. But most people aren't walking around the shop with the camera in front of them. So last year was really difficult. We had to get rid of, I won't say get rid of, but we had to lose Rick, which was really tough because Rick is one of the best guys I've known in years, but it was just a really tough time in business. And the sacrifices that Rick made for this shop to help out was unimaginable, and he's a good person. And it's the same thing with Lewis. Lewis is like one of the best people I know, so I really want to make sure that, and he's younger than us, so he has more potential to learn and grow in the future. Rick and I are just old men, and I think we're both a little done with life. We love it, but we get kind of miserable sometimes. So with Lewis, training him to do this seems the best possible avenue because he has a future in this, and I want him to be the best at it. So I told him yesterday, I said, I am going to harp and ride on you like crazy because I need you to make sure that you pay attention to the little things. So the little things things aren't important until they're way too important. Another thing that's funny is cleanliness. We are a mess. We've been a mess. Every time we try to clean up, it just keeps getting worse. And it's the same thing I keep saying. If you finish something, you put what you have away. I'm big on using carts. When the cart's done, when you're done with the job, empty the cart out, get rid of it. You have one cart where you put all your tools and parts and all that, or your parts and stuff for the car, and you have another cart that you have all your tools and equipment, and then you utilize stuff like we have our carts that I like, but this is a disaster. We have something that's a very simple thing, and then it gets shitted up. And that was one thing that drives me crazy is when you have, sorry, I'm cleaning as I'm talking because it makes me angry. When you have a system that works, you don't need to continually change everything. We have a system that works, but for some reason, everything keeps getting changed. Sorry, as I'm doing this, I'm cleaning this off. It drives me crazy when people can't put old sandpaper in the garbage because it's hard. I mean, we're not hoarding sandpaper. When it's garbage, throw it out. Always keep a garbage near you, throw it away. Usually we have a garbage on the cart. And then we also have our detailing cart for wet sanding and buffing. And again, you go to it and you can see there's a static gun. Doesn't need to be on that. It's supposed to be charging. Tools, wire for the rack. What drives me crazy is we always have steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep them in order, make it easy. A lot of times people don't want to make things easy. So we're going to make it a foolproof, easy way. Hold on, as I'm talking, I'm putting stuff away because it just infuriates me. Let me put the static gun away. These things are now $1,000, so take care of them. Now you look and you see all those parts I'm showing you around. Trying to kind of show you that when you're taking a car apart, there's a lot more involved because now you go from one car to 2 cars. You have basically 2 surface areas of vehicles that you have to store and take care of and manage. And one of the things was hard for me always is, and I learned this from a good friend of mine, Tommy Ingalls, with painting motorcycles, because I used to only charge for doing the paint work, the artwork, and that type of stuff and our materials, but I never charged for setup. And people don't realize it's the setup part that's the really main focus of it. So when you're painting a motorcycle, there's a million pieces that you have to bring into the spray booth. You have to figure out how to hang all those things and prep all those things and paint all those things. And that process of just hanging things invisible so that you don't have marks or tape edges and stuff like that on them are very challenging and very time consuming. You know, you could spend an entire day in a spray booth.
So I'm also a big fan of
setting
not
tin up and getting it ready for what you have to do.
Stuffed on the cars
and people kind of overlook that. And I always did in the beginning.
For some reason,
and it's the same thing with the cars. When you pull these cars apart, there's so many parts. And we have to move all these parts. We have to store all these parts. We have to bag and tag and label all these parts. So there's a lot involved in doing it. You know, a lot of people just think, oh, you pull the seat out and magically vanishes. No, it doesn't. We have to have storage places for those things. Special storage places. We don't want animals, mice, rats, squirrels, raccoons, anything getting into anything. So it needs to be
those
in a
are
good,
the things that drive you crazy when you hire employees
to protect it. So there's a lot more involved in that, and
then they
hoping that as we do our videos, I know some of this stuff is a little boring for some
good
people,
employee
but
did that. Really good
it's
employee.
what we need in this industry. We need car builders mentality. We need people to think farther along down the road. And if we could use some of these examples, even though they're embarrassing for us,
people coming to see that,
we've never had to deal with these.
We're yanking them down because what happened,
a lot of our guys that were here before there retired years ago and went on.
Trying to get a
It was
broom
already
down
embedded
or trying
in
to put a
their
broom up.
thought process.
And
This is how you do things. They've seen it go wrong. That's another thing I was talking to Lewis about yesterday is the younger people haven't experienced the stuff that the older people have, right? And experience is comes from stupidity sometimes. You do it enough that it pisses you off, so then you yell at the younger guys not to do it, and that's kind of what happens. However, when you're a business owner or you're in business doing this stuff, and you have customers who know it and you know it, you can't allow it. So it's harder to teach these people their first time, this is why you don't do it, just learn it and expect it. Because a lot of times people don't learn until there's a problem and then it sticks into them, but we can't have problems. Hopefully our problems help you learn, and a lot of people that want to go into maybe the higher end car building, which is a very, very promising field that is very desperate right now because there's a lot of people that don't have the experience, but there's a lot of people who want the demand and want the vehicles. So if you could learn a little bit from us, and then when you go into a shop, you could actually kind of sail right in there and know. And also, if you watch our videos and stay tuned, you're going to see us continually progress. We're going to just get neater and cleaner and more organized. We're going to get the business back to the way that we used to do things 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Hopefully the young guys see it and appreciate it and want to be a part of it. And I'm glad that you guys are here for the journey because you are a part of it. You're the major part of it. We appreciate you guys watching the video. Every time you watch the video and you like it or subscribe or comment on something, which we do appreciate. A lot of people have been commenting on a lot of our videos now, which is great. It really helps us to grow the channel so we can watch more
somewhere
together.
down
You can
there.
watch us. What?
I was telling them it's somewhere down there.
Let's subscribe down there.
Like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell.